It's been a while, but we're back.
Yes, we
Fano,
are.
welcome back.
Hey, it's been a month.
So, GPS to God, that's where you are. If you're lost, welcome back. We're glad you're here too. Daniel Sanders, Stefano Patterson, Ryan Gotro today. Very special guest, maybe the most controversial guest we've ever had on, Mr. J. Robinett.
Wow. Ooh, I like that. What an intro.
My goodness.
Controversial.
We're going to get into some church music later on, I think, and Jay's right in the middle of all that. So.
Just bringing it.
Sure, that's what he wants to talk about.
Do we have analytics to see like when they quit listening? Is that possible?
Yeah, depending on the platform they listen.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And it just dropped off.
Yep.
There we go.
There it is.
But we're glad you're here. gpstogod.com. That's the website. Check us out. You can shoot us an email, mailroom@gpstogod.com. You know that if you've been listening. If you have not been listening, welcome. Shoot us an email. Let us know. We want to hear from you. All right, let's do it. We're going to start with something a little crazy, maybe controversial.
Okay. Let's do it.
The title of the episode?
Yeah, I sense a
controversy.
theme.
Maybe. That could be, yeah.
Stirring the pot.
And we're not even talking NFL playoffs yet. So.
We got a lot to cover, man.
Duval.
We'll hit those in a minute. But let's start with some new math. Terrence Howard. Do you all know who the actor Terrence Howard is?
Yeah.
I heard this listening to another podcast, so I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to take it as true that he is a fan is probably not the right word, but a proponent of a new math. I don't know if it's new or if it's super old, but I had not heard of it. And it has a name, I forget, but the biggest thing that stuck out to me was 1 times 1 equals 2.
Okay.
1 times 1 equals 2.
They're saying that is like a fact? That's correct.
Yes.
What is 1 plus 1?
Who are these people that are making that?
1 plus 1 is still 2?
Yeah. But he's saying if you have 1 of anything and you multiply it 1 time, you now have 2 of them.
Okay. I mean,
but that would be multiplying it by the factor of 2.
No. He's saying it's 1. If I have 1 of these and I multiply it 1 time,
by another 1.
I now have 2 of those items.
So basically, he's messing up the definition of multiplication and addition.
Sounds like.
I mean, that part when you say it kind of like that, I was like, I can get on board with that one. I think.
What is his Does he have a gain for this?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean
I just don't.
Yeah. I was not taking notes when I was listening to this podcast.
But wasn't sure. What podcast are you listening to, by the way?
It was our.
That needs to be brought up.
I think that was our friend Brian Bates. I think that was on their podcast.
Oh, was it?
I got you.
All right.
I got you.
Is that why it got cut after the first Iron Man?
It may be.
They were like, "Nah, we can't do this."
Can't get on board with that.
No.
I've heard 2 versions of why he got cut out of Iron Man. One was they tried to pay him less money for the second one, and he was like, "No, I'm out."
Yeah.
And then the other one was like the studio's decision to replace him.
Interesting.
Yeah, he wasn't going to get RDJ money. Not at all.
No,
not at all.
No.
Interesting.
I thought that was
1 times 1 equals 2.
And he's like, if you have 2 of something and you multiply it 2 times, you have 4. He said the same thing. If you have 1 and you multiply it 1 time, you have 2.
Okay.
I love the insanity of it, but it's a hard no.
Like I understand what he's trying to say, but it's like I've been drilled so long to say that's not correct. That is not a fact. That it's impossible to understand.
Right.
Interesting.
Oh,
Wow.
It's been on my brain for 3 weeks or however long it's been since we have not recorded.
I think people are just running out of stuff to think about and talk about. So let's just make up stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Interesting.
So might as well get the football controversy out of the way.
Football.
Got an Eagles fan, got a Jaguars fan.
Yes, sir.
Separate conferences.
Will y'all meet in the Super Bowl?
That would be.
Ooh,
that would
a
be,
rematch?
That would be great.
A rematch would be
great.
fun.
Green on green.
Green on green.
You know, we could actually, in Gardner Minshew could start, and it could be former Jaguar versus Jaguars. So
it could be.
I don't think you want to see that, though.
Well, that'd be, yeah. I don't. I'd rather Gardner stay.
Yes. Yeah.
Holding
Where
the
he
clipboard.
is,
Holding the, it's not a clipboard
love
anymore.
the guy. Love his confidence. I really do.
Yeah, twirling his mustache.
I think he's still gonna. I think he'll find a place next year.
Oh yeah,
I think he will.
I think so.
I think he will. There's gonna be a lot lot of shuffling.
Oh, there'll be a lot of shuffling for
It's
sure.
gonna be fun. I mean, seriously, there's gonna be be interesting.
The city of Jacksonville is just lit right now, though. I will say, talking to friends and family that are still there, you cannot find any Jaguar apparel to buy in the city of Jacksonville right now, which has never been the case.
Awesome.
So we're
awesome,
excited.
man.
It's going to be fun.
As
Will
we
be.
record this, it's January 18th.
Yes.
Round one of the playoffs just finished this past weekend. So the Jags were down big, 24-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
Came back and won the game.
All right.
Eagles haven't played yet, but
Eagles have not played.
they're up this weekend. Let's hear. It's going to be several weeks before this episode airs, so let's hear some predictions.
Round one is wild card, though. Is that correct? Is that basically
Wild
what
card
round
weekend.
Super, they call it the super wild card
Yes.
now. So
Oh my goodness!
Because the extra team.
Yeah. Yes.
But
For sure.
predictions.
I I'm a very realistic Eagles fan, so I don't really know. It'll be tough. We beat the Giants twice already, and everybody said it's really tough to beat somebody 3 times. So we'll see. We'll see.
You don't want
Things aren't one on paper or anything. I never predict.
You
Eagles
don't
games.
want to predict.
I never predict Eagles games.
I'm going to say
Maybe not.
they're at least in the conference championship.
Really?
I'll make a prediction for you.
Okay.
Minimum
Hey.
conference championship.
Hey, that's a win. That's a win.
strong. I like
that's
that.
that's very strong. I appreciate it. Thank
Titans
you.
are out. I'm not paying attention anymore.
You quit paying attention months ago.
yeah, right.
They've been out
They
for
went
a long
they went
time.
downhill.
They were
and I was-
in. They were in.
When they
Kind
had to
of.
go up against the Jags over here, I was like, "Yep, we're done."
After your
All
first
hopes.
10 games, you're 7-3,
yeah.
and after 17 games, you still only have 7 wins.
Yep.
Something went wrong.
It's
Downhill.
tough.
Downhill
Tough.
fast.
Yeah.
Rebuilding those Titans.
Sounds like something Tennessee would say.
Yeah.
They did hire a new
I mean,
GM today.
They
or
did.
Yesterday.
They did, yeah. I saw that.
49ers.
Yeah,
So that's a see.
we'll see.
Good luck.
Did you? I know you're a diehard Jacksonville fan. So
Yeah.
you watched the entire
Thing.
thing. How were you? Did you
So here's the
have
thing.
any moment to where you thought that it was not over?
When they scored the touchdown right before halftime, I was like, okay, we got a shot. Because at that point, it was, I think it was 27-7 then.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're pretty much going to have to score on every play and stop them every play for us to have a chance to win. And so I was like, so there's a chance.
Right.
And they came back and beat the Cowboys. They were down 17 to the
Yeah.
Cowboys and came
Yeah.
back and beat them
Beat
in
them in
overtime.
overtime. Yeah.
So they've done it
Right.
every year. And their nickname back in the 90s with Brunel and Baselli were the Cardiac Cats
Yeah.
because it always came down to the last play,
Yes.
which is fun and not fun. And so I was like, well, they've kind of been the Cardiac Cats again
Right.
this year. So I was like, there's a
sure.
chance. And so when they came out hot and Trevor started dealing,
Yeah.
and then I was like,
Good old sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine was
He's cooking.
he was cooking, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. And I was high five in the air because there's not a lot of teal watch parties around in this area. And but I'm excited about this weekend. I'm excited
Indeed.
to see if they can take down the giant
Gotcha.
known as the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to predict they will. So
There we go.
I think
Wow.
it's going to snow. It's going to be terrible weather.
All right.
Jags have a better running game than
Yes.
Kansas City. So I'm going to say 27-24 Jags.
Now that's a
Wow.
prediction.
That is
Wow.
a prediction. That's Saturday, right? Is that Saturday? or
Saturday at
something?
4:30.
You heard they're gonna have
Gotcha.
watch parties at
Gotcha.
Waffle House tonight.
Did you
Yes.
you entertain going to the game, Jay?
I did. I actually entertained going to the Titans Jags
Oh,
game.
really? Okay.
And so, but then I was just like, no. I was
Gotcha.
like, the travel and I don't think that stadium has ever been more packed the past 2 weeks.
Right.
I think it was the first time in Jags history they sold standing room only tickets.
That's
And I
crazy.
think they
That's
had
impressive.
Yeah, I think they had 70,000.
Oh my goodness.
So the tarps were finally gone.
Yeah. Yes.
And so people filled it up. And so, yeah, I thought about going. And if they make it to the Super Bowl,
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to.
I
I'm
got
gonna
you.
pray hard about that one. So take out some of the savings and see what we can do for
I
that.
understand.
I watched the first half of that Jags game last week, and after the fourth interception, I was like, nah, I'm going to send Jay a text. I'm like, no, I mean it's just
Never know.
I don't want to
Right.
mess anything like. I
Right.
still want to be friends
Of
after
course.
this game, but I did turn it off
Yeah.
at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even know they won till the next morning. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, I should have
Yeah.
stayed and watched because I don't know what I did the rest of the night, but it was not as interesting as the second half
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
of that game.
I got a lot of apologies on Sundays. on Sunday,
I'm sure
because
you got bombarded.
yeah, a
with,
lot of DMs on Instagram. People sending me some not so nice messages, and then I woke up Sunday getting ready for church and got a lot of my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It is your bad.
That's right.
Speaking of Brian Bates, I heard him say he put a tweet out at halftime. Jags were going to face somebody. I can't remember the joke, but he made a joke about them losing big, was getting retweeted and all this stuff. And then when they lost, he said he was getting
I'm
blasted.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
sure.
Jaguar
know.
Twitter is undefeated, so they don't come after them. So nobody wants that heat.
Speaking of undefeated, did you see that statistic about Trevor or whatever about
Undefeated
yeah,
on
undefeated on
Saturdays.
Saturdays,
Yeah.
college, high school, everything.
He's never been beat on a Saturday, and we're playing the
crazy.
Chiefs.
That's crazy.
We're playing the Chiefs on a
That is
Saturday.
crazy.
So
That is.
There
Noted.
might be a change. Who
Exactly.
knows?
Noted.
yep.
Hope
It
not.
is.
That's a cool stat. I
It
think.
is a cool stat.
Yeah, it is cool.
Well, that's all the controversy I have for.
Started off hot, man.
Yeah.
It's good. A lot to live up to.
Well, it might
Next
still
Sunday.
get hot. I don't think it's going to get hot in here. We'll see
Right.
if we can get some listeners hot though.
There we go. Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about some church music.
let's do it.
So
Yeah.
Jay, for those of you that don't know Jay, he is a worship pastor.
Yeah.
He leads music in a church.
Yeah,
What you do?
that is what I do.
He
Not
has,
a lot of people know.
he has led me. Well, this is going to be international, so there's going to be people
There you
that,
go.
True.
that don't know you. So
They
He
do
is-
now. They
has
do
led
now.
music in large mega churches, has led music in small churches, medium churches, the
Yeah.
whole gamut.
Yep.
What is something we're going hot and heavy right here?
All right.
Something that a normal churchgoer would not know goes into music at a church.
Whew. I don't think they understand all the planning that goes behind putting a set list of songs together. I think a lot of people think that we just randomly pick songs. Like what's the top 10 on iTunes or Spotify? What's the top 10 in the Christian world for copyright licensing? You have CCLI. And so there's a top 10 on CCLI that are the top 10 to 100 songs that are being played at all churches around the world. So a lot of people think we just pick like the top songs or what's on if somebody's still listening to Christian radio, they listen to The Fish or some of those that are out there.
K-Love.
K-Love, there
Way
it is.
FM.
Yeah.
We're not sponsored, by the way.
No, but we are open. You can email mailroom@gpstogod.com.
See, there you go. Caleb, make it happen. And so a lot of people think that we just go and look at what the top songs are, or we're looking for songs that have an easy beat and an easy melody for people to sing along to. And there's so much more into the planning of songs. And so usually if you're a good worship pastor, you are going to wait for direction from your lead pastor. And so you want to see what the lead pastor is doing first. You want to see what the series is, series title. You want to look at what his main scripture references are going to be. And once you start to get enough information from your lead pastor, then you can dig into, okay, what are some songs that are going to fit into this theme, this series, a specific scripture. Is this going to work for this series and this song? And then the next thing that you're looking at, again, if you're a good worship pastor, so worship pastors, I hope you're good out there, you need to double check and listen to the song, read the lyrics of the song. Don't just pick the song because it's got a good beat and it's good for your vocal range, but read the lyrics see, number one, are they doctrinally correct? Are they theologically correct? There's a lot of popular songs out there that are not theologically correct and that we love to sing. And there are radio hits, and they've won awards. And it's difficult when you are listening to people just sing songs that have incorrect theology.
Well, let's name one. Let's put them on blast right here.
Do it.
No, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to.
We're not
said you
yet.
wanted to be
We
controversial.
can edit it.
That's the subscription model right there.
Really wants that K-Love sponsorship, so we don't need to
Ruffle
damage
any
that.
feathers.
We got
yeah.
the message on
For sure.
Sirius XM in the back end.
This is Music City. They may
We got
come through
backup.
here one day. We want them to come be on the podcast.
Right. Yeah.
So how far out have you gone? Like as far as like planning,
As in
like
time wise,
months and
So here at Parkway, I am usually about 6 to 8 weeks planned out, and that's usually a healthy range. And so
Sure.
your teams have 2 months to prep,
right.
which takes out a lot of excuses with musicians when they're like, I don't know the song. And you're like, well, you had it for 2 months. And so you don't have any more built-in excuses. I have been at churches where we've been planned out 6 months.
Wow.
And then we've also had seasons where we've been planned out the entire year.
Gotcha.
Now, the cool thing about when you can plan out that far is that if you have to audible and you have to change something up, it's not as drastic to your team because they already know the plan and they know the majority of songs. But let's say the pastor says, I don't think this song is going to work with where I'm going this Sunday. Then I can sub in a song, and it's usually in a library that the band already knows, so it's not a drastic change. So it's like, hey, instead of this song, we're going to do this song, and everybody's cool with it, and you know plenty of time, and it keeps everybody happy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the further you can plan out, the more success that you're going to have as a team, and then the better your worship service will be as well, because churches can obviously tell when things are not cohesive, when things are not planned.
Right.
And so we try and do a really good job where things are planned far enough out where the transitions are good on Sundays, and it looks like, the songs are matching the message.
Right.
So let's go into your background a little bit. We know your background and your family, but who is your father? What did he do? and growing up, so getting to the influence you had as a child, what kind of music were you raised in church-wise? Yeah,
so I'm a PK, preacher's kid, for those that don't know the acronym. So I've been in church ever since I was in the crib, and I've always loved music in the church, whether it was good or bad. I have laughed at a lot of bad singers, which is why sometimes when teenagers sit down front, it's not good for vocalists because they will laugh at you if you mess up. But no, I grew up, and it's funny when you're a PK and your dad's preaching, but you're a teenager and he took your car keys away, so you're mad at him, so you don't want to listen to the message. So, sorry, Dad. But you like the music, and so I always resonated with the music in church, and so I grew up listening to a lot of contemporary Christian music. So the Stephen Curtis Chapmans and the Michael W. Smiths that kind of kicked things off, and then DC Talk, and it was so cool to see like DC Talk be on the Tonight Show, and so those were big influences. Third Day was a huge influence on me, and Third Day was one of the first CCM artists that came out with a worship record. So they came out with the Offerings record, and then after that record, every Christian artist started making worship records. And it still to this day kind of blows my mind that worship music is on the radio, because back in the 90s, it was just, it was Third Day, DC Talk, and Newsboys. Some of those bands are still around. But it wasn't Chris Tomlin. Right. And so when I first heard Chris Tomlin, I was like, oh man, this music's great. But never would I have thought that it would be on the radio. Right. So I listened to that. Being from a really tiny town in Live Oak, Florida, I listened to country, and I learned in high school it was cool to like country, but you don't talk about it. You don't tell people that you like country music. And so people can still tell that there's a little bit of twang in my voice when I sing. It's not heavy, but it's still there. And a church that I served at, I had a girl tell me one time, she's a teenager, she's like, are you leading tonight's service? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, good. My mom's going to be so happy. First of all, that makes you feel old right there. She's like,
not me,
right,
my mom.
Right. She's like, oh, good. My mom's going to be so happy. She loves country music, and you're like the country one of the group. And I was like, what? It's like, I didn't know.
Compliments anywhere in this whole conversation.
Right. And so from then on, any planning that we had, because there were several different worship leaders on staff at this church, and so everybody referred to me as the country one.
Nice.
You didn't wear the cowboy boots up there, right?
No, I did not.
Good.
So, but anyways, so I guess that influence obviously bled in to some of my worship music, But yeah, that's what I grew up on, and singing old hymns as well. I mean, the '96 hymn book was the staple for us, and so I always it's like a party trick. I like to tell people, like, hey, "Shine Jesus Shine" is number 579, and "Great is the Lord" is hymn number 12. Like, I love going through those. That's how much you know. Like, that's how you know you're a PK when you have numbers,
absolutely,
hymn numbers memorized. So a lot of that has just influenced me to where I am today. So I love the new music. I love the older contemporary Christian music, and I love the ancient hymns as well. So I try and blend all of that together to get us a modern sound for today.
One of the questions I wanted to give to you today was, so as far as having people on stage, you normally have a lot of different, like, vocals, being high, low, bass, whatever. What is your go-to? Like, how do you set up for scheduling that, or how do you and obviously who's available to be there,
right?
But how do you normally try to set that up?
So what I try and do is I try. It's like a team. It's like a basketball team. Like, what 5 best work together on the court, and so I try and do that with vocals. Like, who works well together, who blends well together. And so it's difficult when you're new and you come into a new environment and you've got a lot of vocalists. Yeah. You can kind of see in the past who has sung together, but then I also like to experiment. I like to say, like, okay, well, these 2 ladies sound good together, but I think this lady, if I put her with this person, would sound even better. Yeah. And then you kind of have to balance the stage as well when it comes to posture of worship. So you can't just think vocals, but you got to think posture. So you may have a big hand raiser, somebody that claps a lot, and you may have somebody that they're not comfortable doing that, which is fine. Yeah. But to kind of balance out the stage so nobody's just standing there, really just like a tree, you want to find somebody that can balance that person out. Yeah. Gotcha. And so that goes into the selection of the vocalist as well. Yeah. But the biggest thing is blend, like who blends well together. So, so a couple of teams that I've put together, if you come on Sunday and you start to see, like, oh, these 3 people sing together a lot. There's a reason behind that. Yeah. Because they sound good. And so, kind of like our Christmas Day recording that we put out this year. Mm-hmm. You've got Jason and Lori and Becca. They sound really good together. So the 4 of us blend really well together. And so that's why they're a team together quite a bit, because they sound good. So, and we're starting to get more people that are wanting to sing. Yeah. And so it's a good problem to have, because now it makes me go like, okay, we've got some new people. So it's like getting a free agent. And so how are you gonna we can have sport references for music all night.
I know you do.
And,
you do.
And so, you get a new person and you're trying to figure out, okay, who are they best going to work with? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So you've got to be okay to fail. You don't be afraid to fail. Yeah. And so put them together and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then say, okay, this team doesn't work. Let me put this person with this team and see what happens. Yeah. And then once you find it and you get in that groove, then you want to keep that. And so it just makes everybody happy. Not everybody's happy because sometimes people want to be paired together. Like, oh, I want to sing with this person. I want to sing with it. I never get to sing with this person. And so there is a reason why. So
I just thought you had like a twister board and you could put their names on each of the circles and just who's singing with who today?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So talking about vocalists and musicians, sometimes churches will have contract people that you pay to come in and do that. A lot of churches, smaller churches especially, are all volunteer based. But what's kind of the difference between the two, other than one's getting paid, one's not?
Right. Ooh, now we're going to get into the controversy, everybody. So here's the thing. I've worked at churches that have contract musicians that are basically staff positions that are paid every single Sunday and paid well. And I've been at churches.
He pays me.
Yeah, it's true.
Upstairs.
Yeah, it's true. We'll have to talk about that.
And he pays me with compliments. You're pressing that mute button really well.
Ryan, your hair looks great today.
I'm wearing a hat.
Right. Oh. Okay, great.
He wouldn't have said that if you didn't have the hat on.
Right? Yeah. All right. So, and I've worked with churches where it's all volunteer based. And I get this asked a lot, like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer contract musicians or do you prefer volunteers? And I always frustrate people because I say both. They're different. And that's the biggest thing that people don't realize. Contract musicians, a lot of times, you've got to figure out how to get them to buy into your church and what you're doing, the vision and mission of your church. And
because it's just a gig for them.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, it is just a gig and it's just a paycheck. They're there to play perfect, sound perfect, collect their check, see you next Sunday. Volunteers, you tell a volunteer like, hey, I need you. And before you can finish the sentence, they're like, okay, yeah, sure. What do you need? And you don't have to worry about them saying no because they're bought into the vision and mission of the church and they want to see the church do well. And that's their ministry. That's their heart is for the church. And now volunteers may not be professional musicians. So you've got to spend more time with them in rehearsals, talking over parts. Sometimes even there's some teachable moments, even though my motto is you practice at home and you rehearse at rehearsal. So you don't show up to rehearsal to practice. You practice at home. Because if you show up to rehearsal to practice, you're just wasting everybody's time. But with, again, contract musicians, you're paying them. So you expect them to play it as written and play it really well. And in a church that I was serving at, I had a guy that wasn't really bought in, and he's a paid guy. It would have been really easy. He was showing up late to rehearsals and on Sundays, and it would have been easy to be like, "Hey, dude, hit the road. Like, I'll get another bass player. It's easy to find a bass player. Like, no big deal." But I didn't want to do that because I liked him, and so I knew as a worship pastor I was going to have to step up my game and invest in his life. And so I knew he played at some shows in the city we were in and played at a jazz club. So like on a Friday night, I went down to the jazz club that I knew he was playing at, and he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm coming to see you play.
Right.
And he was
Time
like,
to snap my fingers.
right. And so that after I watched him, that started a conversation. And that led to us going to grab lunch, and that's when he started kind of telling me more about his life, his wife, and his wife, they had just gotten pregnant, and so he was looking forward to that. And I was like, hey, our drummer has a baby, and they're going to be about the same age. And because he wasn't connecting with anyone. Gotcha. Like, he would come in late, and he would just go sit by himself. And so I spent the time getting to know him and getting into his life. And so he was just like, oh, man, somebody cares about me. Like, somebody gives a rip about what I do and who I am. And it wasn't like a short turnaround. It took a while. But probably a year later, I saw he was showing up on time. I saw that he became friends with the drummer because they found out they had things in common. I remember I had asked him to play for like a missions thing that we were going to do. And I said, hey, it's not paid. We need a band. He's like, I'm not doing that. It's not paid. Psh, I'm not doing that. Bye. Find somebody else. I was like, okay. But a year later, come back, and I'm like, hey man, we got this thing I need you to play. It's not sorry, I forgot, you won't get paid. And he's like, no, what is it?
Huh.
And then he came and played for free.
That's cool.
So he started to buy into what we were doing, and he saw that somebody cared about him and didn't care how well he played the bass. They cared about him as a person. And so that's what you've got to do with contract musicians. And then with volunteers, you've just got to make sure that they're prepared. You give them their info that they need weeks in advance so they can work on it. And then when you have rehearsal times, then you try and make it as good as possible. There are things that help volunteer bands as well, like multi-tracks, which multi-tracks, if you want to send a sponsorship as well, that would be great.
Mailroom at gpstoguide.com.
Yeah. Multi-tracks is great because, not a lot of churches have, 2 to 3 electric guitar players on stage. And a lot of these worship songs you hear today have 5, 7, 8 electric guitars layered. And so multi-tracks helps, or any kind of tracks that you use, Loop Community, I'll throw you a bone. Any of these tracks kind of help supplement not having professionals. And it rounds out the sound and warms up the sound in the house so it doesn't sound empty. Because, we're now in an age of American Idol and, the America's Got Talent, where if it's not perfect, then you find somebody else.
Everybody's a judge.
Everybody's a judge. And so they notice if it was just a 4-piece band playing, it would sound hollow and empty and be like, well, that doesn't sound like what I listened to on Spotify. Right. And so tracks help fill it up and make it sound really good. Now, my opinion of paid and volunteer, like I would always say, I think people should be paid for what they do. And when I talk to friends that work at traditional churches or just people that attend traditional churches that consist of like an organist and a pianist, and that's what I grew up in, just having a pianist and an organist, they always tell me like, well, I don't think bands should be paid. Like, you shouldn't pay bands. And I was like, well, do you pay your pianist? Well, that's different. I'm like, whoa, hold up. I'm like, no, it's not. I was like, you just have a different style of worship. And your band is your pianist and your organist, and they're getting paid well. Which, by the way, if any of your children want to get paid playing an instrument, and the organ is like,
there's like no one that does it anymore.
Correct. So if just Google how much an organist can make, and you will be astounded. So because they're not out there anymore, so they're in high demand. But I always say, like, if you have people that are playing on Sundays that are giving up their time, I always say honor them by doing something. And so I am never against people getting paid on Sundays or having contract people. With contract musicians and volunteers, talent breeds talent. And so a lot of times you get a contract musician who's really good, then that volunteer that's like, man, I'd really like to play guitar like that, or I'd like to do that. It sometimes gives them the confidence to take that next step to say like, hey, what can I do so I can play up there like that guy? And that's how I've built a lot of volunteer teams is I will start off with a contract musician, and then that gets other people interested in playing and helps your volunteer base grow.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's keep the controversy train rolling.
Yeah. If you had one, I had a light one, but that's fine.
Oh,
you go ahead and go with yours.
Well, I'm coming to you with this question.
What?
So,
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Fano's wife, Lori, has made multiple appearances on here.
She has.
She is a vocalist and sings
She does.
regularly
And she does.
at this church.
Yes.
What kind of complaints has she brought home that you've had to listen to?
Oh man, hold on, I got to turn my seat on this one.
Yeah. Right here.
Hold on, let me get the
About Jay?
So Fano's beard just got a little bit wider. You got a little bit wider.
Said Lori doesn't have any beef with Jay. What are you talking about? No.
I mean, it doesn't have to be about Jay.
No,
but
no.
Coming from the other side, what's something?
Coming from the other side, looking out into...
What's a complaint or a... That might be too harsh a word, but something that bothered her in some way that maybe she talked to you about, and then we'll get the other perspective on it.
Gotcha. Just
We're
about
gonna say
just about singing and
not,
just
yeah, this is not about Jay at all in any way. So.
Hers just more. Let me see how to say this.
Yes.
How can I say this and not get in trouble when I go home?
Yeah, this is gonna be. Sorry, Lo.
Well, you have like what, 2 weeks to prepare for this?
I know you're gonna have to edit this out.
Yep.
No. hers is more like getting up and like the spirit is moving so much on that platform, and to kind of look out and not see it kind of
Reciprocated
back
from the crowd.
Yeah, just kind of like
Yep.
just like a posture.
Yeah.
That's the sometimes and it doesn't necessarily make her mad, but that's kind of like deflates the moment.
I'm giving everything I can give. I'm getting nothing.
There's no feedback.
I'm sure he probably that you're you're singing, you're in the moment, and everything like that, and it's not like, I mean, it doesn't have to be, nobody has to be like turning over pews or anything like that, but just kind of
they're just
kind of like a blank,
Yeah.
which people worship different ways, and that's completely fine. But just sometimes seeing so much of that and someone, I guess, not getting into it can kind of deflate her spirit a little bit.
It's a drag,
right? Yeah. For sure. That's been that's not, it's not every Sunday or anything like that, but that's something that she's mentioned to me and stuff. So
That might be why people sing on stage with their eyes closed.
which she does. I mean, she
Like,
she
I
doesn't.
gotta for real.
I
I don't know if that's the correct thing.
She sometimes will pan the audience and everything, but most cases she does with her eyes closed.
I've been on stage a couple times not for singing.
He was cleaning.
I know, that too. And you're completely blind, by the way, because the lights are on you, and you're like, I don't even see anybody. So how?
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be one thing that
That's a good
she
one.
probably
That's a good. So I mean, let's hear the other side of the story, or a confirmation, probably.
No, it is definitely deflating when you are giving everything you got and you get no response. Now, that's a cultural thing. So I've been in a lot of churches where you'll sing and they just stare at you, and you're just like, is this bad? Like, do I sound bad? Like, is the band bad? What's bad? Like, shouldn't you be singing? And it's because they have become trained to, that's the way they worship, is they just listen to you. And again, it's a culture thing. If that's the way the church has done it for so many years, it just becomes, that's the way we do things. Right. And so you have to have a cultural shift for that to change, and that takes time. I was at a church, I served on a staff where it's the church that I had the contract band. I mean, it was like playing with the Roots every single week. I mean, I could call out a song like day of, like Sunday of, and they'd have it like in a second. Wow. Which was a great and terrible problem because I wanted to play every song. When you have a band that can play anything, it was amazing. But I got there and I would sing, and it's either myself leading or somebody else leading. I just noticed everyone was just standing there staring at us. And I was like, what's wrong with these people? I was like, this music's so good. Like, you should, have a little Baptist moment. Like, get the flags out. Like, let's go. And so I didn't understand.
For those of you that know what the flags are, that's a great reference.
Yeah. Google Pentecostals and flags, and you'll enjoy it. But I heard from some people that because the music is so good, and we had some vocalists that probably could have been recording artists, it's so good that they just wanted to stand there and listen to them. And so I had to change the way that I chose songs to make it more participatory. Like, I wanted congregational worship to happen. I didn't want it to be a show. I never wanted it to be a show. Right. And so I'm trying to figure out, as a worship pastor, what can I do to get everybody in the room singing? And so some of those things are like change the key of the song. So a lot of times the songs that you hear on the radio are really, really high for guys to sing. And some of the female-led songs are really high too. So if we can't sing them as musicians, then the average Joe is definitely not going to be able to sing. So when I'm choosing songs, one of my mindsets is, how do I get the average Joe who doesn't like to sing, that's got a really low voice, what song can I pick in the right key to have him sing with me? And I do that for the ladies as well. So a lot of the songs that we sing are actually lowered a little bit, so it's easier for everybody in the room to sing. And again, that's not going to be for everybody because some people just can't sing. But we try and make it accessible to everyone.
Makes sense.
And then also, I had to change up the songs to pick some songs that were still doctrinally correct, but easier to sing, that had rhythms that were easier. Like today, in today's music, Maverick City is like the thing. But a lot of their verses are hard rhythmically for non-musicians to sing because they've got some half beats, and then they just have different rhythms that is really cool and really cool to listen to, but it's hard for some people to sing. So at this church, I made sure that we simplified some of the worship to make it accessible. And once we started to do that, then we saw a change. And I remember when I left that church, one of the greatest compliments I've ever received, it may be the best compliment I've ever received, was the pastor was thanking me on the stage for teaching the church how to sing again. Because when I got there again, they didn't sing, and by the time I had moved on, I could just start the song, and then I could have just gone backstage, and they would have done the whole song for me. And that's the goal, and that's why we get deflated when we see people not singing. And so, and you have to know in your church that hopefully you have a good worship pastor that's trying to turn that culture around to make it more participatory. Right. And but yeah, it's tough when it's been the culture for so long, and people. And it's like you said, there's different postures of worship. There are some people that worship with all their hearts by just standing there with their eyes closed and not singing. Right. But my concern for some people is, I've talked to some young people, even in our own church, that are scared to let go in worship because they feel like they're going to offend someone if they lift their hands, or I don't want to offend this person over here if I clap, or if I ad lib something. And I'm trying to coach people right now and say, no, just let go. Like wherever the Spirit is leading you, go there. So don't let that fizzle out. Don't let somebody giving you a bad look in the back of the room distract you or deter you from the worship of Jesus. And so it is tough when vocalists put everything they got into practicing a song, and it means so much to them, and they are like, man, the church just really needs to hear this message. And then you get the message out, and it's like, message not received. and so
they left you on red.
Right. So it's tough, but that's the thing. It's like the little what is it from like Shawshank Redemption? The little pick for the rocks, a rock shaping tool. Yeah. It's basically like having that and having to chip away slowly at old culture so a new culture can come in.
Right.
The rock hammer, that's a good one.
I'm sure that affects how you, I guess, choose songs.
Yeah.
Because I know you probably want to go maybe something like a doctrinal song that's maybe obscure that everybody doesn't really know.
Right.
But then you want everybody to kind of participate and know to sing it well.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool that you kind of introduce a song and everything, kind of go through like new songs like that, everything. I'm sure that can be difficult in the
for sure,
planning and finding the right songs and stuff. So
yeah, there's a fine balance.
Yes,
that you've got to like if you're, I mean, like one of our little tricks is if you're going to introduce a new song, then the song right after it needs to be a song that they know really well. And so some people now just hate this song, but like I could introduce a new song, and then the next song could be Good Father, and then they'll just be like, oh, I didn't know this song, but I love this song, and so and they're all about it. So, which spoiler alert, we're doing a new song this Sunday.
Okay.
So,
there we go.
And the song after it is one they know really well. So
well played.
By the time this comes out, that'll be old news.
Yeah, that's true.
It already happened.
Yeah. It'll be like, we love that song.
Tell us what it is.
And it was great. We've sang it 4 times.
I know.
Oh, that's
About
true.
jumped from the chandelier.
Yeah.
What was your layup question you had?
Oh, his favorite artist, favorite concert as well.
Ooh, man.
So
What's your favorite concert you went to last year in 22?
I know he went to a good one, at least one good one that I was a little jealous of.
Ooh, I don't know if.
Oh, that was the McCartney.
Oh yeah, Paul,
Yeah.
Sir Paul finally saw it. Was bucket. That was top 5 bucket list in Knoxville. Ooh, that was good. I don't know how many people can be held in Thompson Bowling Arena? Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
But it was over capacity, so I do know that. But all right, favorite artist. Oh my gosh.
I know it's tough.
Yeah, because I've got a lot.
I'm sure.
I would probably say, and oh man,
Give us a couple.
People-
Give us a couple.
we go
well, no,
three.
I'll give you the one. The one that
let's go
like.
three.
Okay, I'll give you three. The top one. If my friends watch this, especially my music snob friends, they're gonna make fun of me so hard. I'm a diehard Third Day fan.
Really?
I love Third Day. So
Nothing to be ashamed about.
No, that's not.
no.
That's not.
I once tried to grow like the Fu Manchu, like Mac Powell. Like I wanted to be Mac Powell. And it was so patchy and bad. It was so bad. But I love their music. I love it because, it's Southern rock. And so I love them. Big Need to Breathe fan.
Oh, yeah.
And so Need to Breathe shapes a lot of what I do. And then I'll probably have to, there's a tie for the third spot. I got into Brit rock quite a bit. And then also just like some Irish folk music. So I love this guy named Damien Rice. He's an Irish folk singer and Coldplay.
Gotcha.
So, and
Nice.
a lot of people hate on Coldplay just because they're popular, and so they're still putting out hits. But those three bands and artists have definitely shaped who I am and what I like to do. But yeah, best concert was I love the Paul McCartney concert, and I will actually have to say, it may not be my favorite concert, even though it was amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was amazing. But one of the best shows I saw all year was from a Christian band, We the Kingdom,
Really?
at the Ryman.
Huh.
That's pretty cool.
I was blown away. Like,
Yeah.
I did not expect it to be that good. And I was just like, from the set to the lighting, the way they chose all their songs, and they did an acoustic set, and I was like, man, these guys are the real deal. And I mean, Ed Cash is a legendary producer in Nashville and has produced some of the biggest songs that we still sing to this day. Like "How Great Is Our God" is one of the songs he produced. So he's in this band, and a lot of his family members. So they're all phenomenal musicians. And but I was not expecting it to be that good, but it blew me away, and so I love that one.
Cool.
Nice.
Big debate today in churches: modern music, contemporary, whatever you call it, versus traditional. Give me your first thought, whether it's a word or a sentence when you hear this word.
Yeah,
Choir,
one word.
or a sentence, or whatever. Like, if somebody was to walk up to you in the lobby and say, "Choir,"
Yeah,
what would be the thought that rolls through your head?
let's do it. And so people think because I'm a more modern guy that the choir is ancient. I think in the choir has made a comeback, but in a different way. And so it's no longer, even though there are some churches that are still doing robes, but it's now become more of a worship choir. And so Passion does it, Elevation does it, Bethel's doing it. And so it's just a massive amount of people on stage that are leading worship. And so, but they're not necessarily all singing parts. Like you don't have the altos over here and the sopranos, and you just have people up there that are just singing their hearts out. And because one of the reasons they're doing that is it gives another level of sound in the room, but also it's a reflection of what you want your congregation to be doing as well. So with a choir, I say, let's go, let's do it.
See, that wasn't bad at all. This dude's a pro. He's a pro.
Professional over there, man. Professional dude right there, man.
All right, I don't know if there's a short answer or not, but mega church versus smaller church. We talked about contract musicians, all that kind of stuff. But what is something, maybe a difference or something that most people wouldn't know?
The mega church is just programmed to a T. Everything that happens in service, we've probably had about 6 meetings about it. Smaller church is just kind of off the cuff. so not as many meetings and not as much planning. So mega church, like I know exactly the formula for how Sunday is going to run every single week. I know how long I've got, like, especially if you're broadcast, like if you could be streaming to radio or if you're on TV, your pastor may have 40 minutes, which means you probably have 13 minutes of music. And I've been told before, like, I added the just atmosphere in the room was great. And so I was like, let's sing that chorus again. And that was in the first service, and we had 3 services. And I remember a pastor going like, hey, yeah, don't do that. So, because I was going over my time. And so at mega church, you've got to hit your marks.
It's a production.
Yeah. So if your song is, 4 minutes and 22 seconds, you have 4 minutes and 22 seconds. So if you want to ad-lib an extra chorus at the end, you better have that built into that 4 minutes. Or in your planning meeting, you need to say, hey, this song's going to be 4 minutes and 55 seconds. That way you've got an extra 30 seconds built in so you can do that ad lib. So you actually have to kind of pre-plan those ad libs that a lot of people are just like, oh, I love when Bethel just like goes off the rails. That's planned. They
peek behind the curtain right there. That's a good one.
So
did you have like a counter or something like that off to the side?
Yeah,
So
there's clocks everywhere. Yeah.
If you've ever been to a concert, right, and you've sat maybe off to the side of the stage where you could view, or maybe up higher, you can see.
Yeah,
there's clocks that the musicians have.
Yeah.
So a big tour around here is like
that, I guess.
Toby Mac. Toby Mac does his Winter Jam or Greatest Hits, whatever his tours are. Go a lot of places. They have a clock right there that they all stick to. Yeah. And we sat on one of those concerts off to the side a little. And when it hit 0, they were like, good night, see you later. And they were out. Here comes the next group.
We would tell the guys doing pre-service announcements, like if it gets to 0 and you're still going, we're cutting the lights and it's going to a bumper video.
Wow.
And so they had 5 minutes to do pre-service, and you had to figure out, like, if you had gone over on one announcement, and you would see the clock ticking, and you knew, like, oh, I've got 30 seconds to do 2 more announcements, and so they would have to rush it. And then
here's one. Look at your bulletin.
Pretty much.
Everything
That's
else is in that bulletin.
Yeah, and so that's I think that's one of the biggest differences between a mega church and a smaller church, is just the programming that goes behind a service, because it is it's like doing a concert every single week, and I don't want to say the worship is just a concert, because it's not, but it's to that scale where Toby Mac can come in and set up, and so with us you got to program lights, and the lights go with the music, which is another reason why you have to plan out so far in advance. So you usually have a lighting director that is programming your lights. And then you've got several cameras. Like I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 cameras. You've got to make sure everybody's prepped on, okay, so the pastor's going to start here. He's probably going to move over here. So everything's planned to a T. Wow. And so yeah, that's the biggest difference. So that's something that I even adjust to now, coming from a really big church to a smaller church. Is I remember when I first got here, because I think at my last church I had like 5 meetings, 6 meetings in a week, and I remember asking Matt, like, so like how many meetings? He's like, 1. And I was like, huh? That's it? And so I was like, oh, okay. And so, but now Matt and I meet, every week, and I don't think it's something he's ever done, is we have a worship planning meeting where we do a review preview, where we look at the past week, what worked, what didn't work, what was missing, what was confusing, and then we look forward to the next week or the next 2 weeks, what's coming up. That's what cool. Do you need in your sermon? Do you need anything extra? Do I need to cut a song? Are you going longer? So we're now discussing everything about our services at Parkway to hopefully make it, seem like a really smooth service.
I preached a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, walk up and Jay's like, how long you going? And I told him, I don't know what thought he had, but he gave me a look like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like that it needed to be shorter? I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
So I don't think I went overtime. But,
no.
Gotcha.
He was a pro. Total pro.
Need a clock? Need a clock for next time?
I would love a clock. I mean, to be honest, just
You did great, by the way.
Doing announcements.
Oh, you did fantastic.
You did.
Oh, yeah,
You
very
did,
good.
man.
Keep it
You
coming. But I mean, even just doing announcements or something like.
Right.
So what you were talking about with Lori and just zero reaction and
Right.
coming back.
Yep.
Try doing that when people are still walking in the room and you're trying to tell them something. And you're,
Oh, people
That is
don't.
rough.
People don't understand. Pre-service announcements is the hardest thing to do on a Sunday because you have to figure out how to get their attention.
Right.
And I've told.
Sit down.
Right. You can do that, but then they'll
Do this in love.
Find a
In
seat.
love.
Find a seat.
Yeah. I always say you have to. I thought Josh Swafford, who just recently did announcements, did a great job because he kind of started off with a joke. Number one, people started to get quiet because it was somebody different too,
Right.
and they were like, "What's Josh doing up there?"
Right.
But he gave a joke like, "Hey, you don't usually see me up here, but please laugh at my jokes, or this may be the last time." And then they're going to put me back on Pro Presenter, and I'm going to mess up the slides. And so everybody, they were locked in to what he was doing, and so you have to figure out in the first 30 seconds, what can I say to grab their attention?
Yeah.
Because there's still going to be people that aren't paying
Talking,
attention,
yeah.
but what can I say? A story, a joke, something that is going to get their attention.
Right.
And when you can do that, that's a masterful skill.
Yeah.
It's
Josh,
impressive.
they give you the first one free, buddy. Do it again. We'll see how
Right.
that goes.
It's true.
All right, we're going to get out of here maybe on something a little lighter. You passed the test. Good job.
All right.
I meant to say this earlier, and I did not. I think Jay and every other worship pastor, worship leader, whatever title they have, is probably the hardest job in a church
Yes.
because everyone has an opinion on what you're doing.
Oh, boy.
Whether you're
Well, not even opinion, but like, hey, so in the next couple services, I really, really like this song. I really think we should play it. You know?
Yeah. Request.
How many
Put it in.
requests? That's one question that I
go
did
ahead,
have.
yeah.
You're like, like how many like requests do you get? Do you like often? Like every Sunday? Like do people like
Very often. Oh, yeah.
email, text, just tell, just I heard
emails. They'll
this
see
song.
me. They'll see me after services and say like, "Oh, I really like that song you did today, but
Right.
I would love if you would actually do this song." Yeah, I get requests all the time, so it's crazy. So
I can't imagine.
yeah,
Can't imagine.
my favorite came from a service was about to start, and my batteries died in a pack. And this was not at Parkway. This was at another church, and I saw that my pack was dead, and I had to run. The tech booth was in the back where the batteries were, so I had to jump off stage, run back there. And this older lady grabbed my arm, and she's like, "Hey, Jay, I got a question." I was like, "Okay, all right, great." I'm looking at the countdown. I'm like, I've got 4.5 minutes, and I'm thinking it's like, "How's your day?" But no, it was, "Hey, why?" And this will be controversy. Why don't we sing more hymns? Because they actually teach us things. And I was like, "Oh man, this conversation is not 4.5 minutes worth. This is a way longer conversation." And she was telling me some hymns she wanted to hear. I was like, "Man, those are great songs of the faith. I love those hymns. I do." I was like, but then I kind of turned it around and I was like, "But did you know like the song that we're singing today?" And the song was "The Blessing." I was like, "Did you know the blessing is straight scripture from the book of Nehemiah?" And she's like, "No." And so I said, we're actually, the songs that we're singing today, a lot of them are just straight off the pages of the Bible. And so they're actually teaching us more than some of the older hymns that are not scripture. And I was like, and some of the hymns also are not necessarily theologically correct either. And we can get into that another time.
you got 2 AAAs in your pocket.
Right. And so yeah. So
Only got 30 seconds, lady.
but that was the craziest song request
Wow.
moment that I've ever had.
Wow.
So,
Nice.
but yeah, so that was fun.
Sounds like it.
I got one more question.
Go ahead, man.
All right. So you're on stage.
Yeah.
You're about to go.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you are going. You're already you're getting prepared. You're ready to go. We're going and all that kind of good stuff. And then all of a sudden, something tech doesn't work.
Oh yeah, happens a lot.
What is your process? Do you have a process that you do on stage to kind of make it look like it's not like we're not having problems?
Yeah.
But we are so having problems.
So
Because you do a really good job, by the way, on
Yeah.
stage, keeping that under control.
that's experience because early as a younger worship pastor is definitely you have freak out moments.
Yep.
Like when I was interning at a church, I did the sound guy. So dirty. The lyrics went out in the back.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know, we have this thing, we call it the confidence monitor, and it gives us the lyrics. And so, and some people are like, why don't you memorize your lyrics? I was like, well, we're playing different songs a lot. And I was like, and so.
Well, you plan on that. You
Right.
plan on knowing the song, but that's
Exactly.
just, oh, yeah, I almost messed that up. Good.
So I always like to look up because I do my best to try and memorize the songs, but I like to get that first word, and that first word cues me. And so I was interning at this church, and it was a larger church, and the lyrics were out, and countdown hit 0, and it's like go, and I was like, oh no, I have, and the band starts playing, and I was like, I don't know the first word of this song, and I kind of froze, but then, and this is where I made the sound guy look so bad. I started just mouthing it and singing it, but nothing was coming out.
Like you're muted?
Like I'm muted or my batteries are dead. And so,
Oh, that is fantastic.
So I'm just like, and I'm like, and then people are turning around, looking at the sound guy, going like,
sure.
"Turn him
Right.
up! Like we can't hear him."
So you know what I
We
know
can't
when
hear
you
him.
said that, the first thing that comes to my head is Chad going, "Oh no," and running to the back.
Exactly. So he's like, I see him at the board, like
Probably like
don't-
leaning over like
right, and then when it got to the chorus, and what I made it worse because I even pointed at my mic. I was like, "Oh no, what's wrong with my mic?" And then when it got to the chorus, then it clicked, and then I started singing, and then he's like, "I don't know, and then people are like, "Thanks." And to this day, I still have never told him that I did that. Because he's like, man, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Like, you weren't muted. I don't know what happened. I was like, man, I don't know. It's crazy. It's like a glitch or something. So I did that.
Oh, that's
that's
fantastic.
so good.
Yeah. But as I've gotten older, I just kind of roll with the punches. And so a lot of times people like to see you be human. And so when you're perfect all the time, it's like a machine, and so they like to see sometimes if you stumble, it's like, oh, okay, they're human, they're normal.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, here at Parkway, we even had a moment. I think one time, I don't remember what wasn't working, but I just had to stop it. I was like, and I kind of made a joke. I think the tracks were down, or the laptop died, or something like that. And so, and I just laughed, and I basically did like an old Mike Myers SNL thing where I was like, hey, talk amongst yourselves, Rhode Island's neither a road nor an island, discuss. And then people laugh, and then you go fix the issue.
Right.
So I do that now, and then some things like you just have to, that's the biggest thing, is just roll with it. Like nobody expects perfection. And if you're trying to be perfect, you will mess up.
Yeah.
So strive for excellence, not perfection, and then you'll have a successful service.
Well, let them know too how good it is normally.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You're like,
Oh,
yeah, this is,
Yeah.
once every 4 months
Right.
something goes wrong.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
these people are hitting it good.
Yeah.
Got a great batting average over
Yeah.
there.
So kind of running off of that, when you were on stage with Amelia, I can't remember how it was a few weeks ago, or maybe longer than that. You were muted in house, but on Facebook you weren't, because I had you unmuted, and I just remember listening to you going, "Hey, can y'all hear me? Amelia, you're doing great. What's going on here?" Like, you just kept on saying it, and I'm like, that's perfect. I love that stuff.
Yep.
Well, I was going to have you end with a funny story or something, but I think you just nailed it.
Yes, you
I
did.
think that was
Yeah,
it.
he
There it
did.
is.
That's hilarious.
So that was it. So support your worship leaders.
Yes.
They
need
have
it.
They have a
Yes.
hard job.
Absolutely.
Pray for them.
Yes.
Pray
For
for
sure.
absolutely. Jay and anyone else would love your request, but do it in the right way at the right time, not on a Sunday morning before worship service.
While he's
Yep.
singing, raise your hand.
Yes.
Not like I need you right now.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Thank you, Jay, for all that
thanks
you
for
Absolutely.
coming.
Appreciate it.
all
Thank
that
y'all
you
for
do
having me.
for,
And,
for us and
yeah.
just everything.
Yeah, I know
Appreciate
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank
it is
you.
a tough
Thank
job
you.
because everybody has an opinion and everybody,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's why there's 400 different kinds of music on the radio.
Oh yeah.
Every person in the room wants something different. But,
Very true.
But yeah, thanks for coming. You got a Bible verse? What was the one you said at the?
John 3:30. He must become greater, I must become less.
There it is. And that fits in
Simple and
perfect.
well said.
So walk in the room, whatever they're singing that day, you sing right along too.
Amen.
It's about God, not about you. But, we love you. God loves you more. See you next week. That's it.
That was fun.
Good.
Yeah, man.
He's sick all the time.
He's not sick. Yes.
If he's not sick, something's wrong with him.
Who's that?
He's always.
I'd worry about him if he
always-
wasn't sick.
It's like he's sick. All right, we're good.
Right.
If he's got a sickness, we're good.
Thanks for listening to GPS to God. Make sure you leave a rating or review on whichever app you happen to use. Also, find us on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to our channel.